Good evening, good evening, good evening, everyone. Good evening. Happy, marvelous Monday to you. Welcome to Mind Your Mind Mondays with your mind Dr. Kimberly E. McKenzie. I am so excited that you have joined us on this evening, and we have a discussion. We have a conversation for you. And for those of you who do not know me, I am Dr. Kim. I'm a native of well, they say DMV, but the real people who live there. I was born in DC, Washington, DC, raised in Maryland. I now reside here in the Metro Atlanta area. And I am an educator of 27 plus years. And so now I am transitioning into mental health. I'm in a master's program. I start my practicum this summer, and by next year, oh my gosh, I will be graduating. But mental health, mental illness, wellness, all of those that has been my thing. Even as an educator, I've always worked with students with special needs, especially those who have emotional behavior disorders and those who have learning disabilities. And so I'm just extending my branch. I'm extending my branch. And I am excited tonight. Last week we had the infamous Dr. Rodney Jackson, and we talked about transformative thinking, and we talked about epigenetics. And so tonight, my special guest is D. Lamar Handy, and tonight's episode is about men's mental health. Men's mental health matter. Men's mental health matter. And so we are excited. We are excited to have this discussion. I just met Mr. Handy. We just connected recently, and we just hit the ground running. We have hit the ground running. We already have some things planned and booked for our little 2025 calendar, and I am so excited about that. His name is Dennis Lamar Handy, and he is a native of Athens, Georgia. However, he currently resides in the Lithonia, Georgia area. And he is the founder of the D.L. Handy Foundation. And what I am going to do at this time, for some reason, I am not seeing my comments. So if you're commenting and I'm not responding, I apologize, but I cannot see them. Oh, I see why. Okay, wait a minute. All destinations. Okay, there we go. There we go. So I should start to be able to see them now. So we are about to welcome D. Lamar Handy to the stage, and he's going to tell us a little bit about himself, a little bit about his organization. It's not doing all. Let me see. It's not allowing me to. Let's see. Let's go back to all. It's not allowing me to post to all of the streams right now. It's only allowing me to post to YouTube. So I do want to welcome our listening audience from YouTube, from Instagram, and Facebook Live. Let's see. I'm not sure what is happening, but I am not allowed to see my post. But welcome for all of you who are live. And so we're going to get ready to bring him up. And you know what I would like for you to do is put your comments in the chat, And we will, if we can get to, your questions in the chat, and if so, we can get to them, we will get to them. So I introduce to you D. Lamar Handy. Hello, hello, good
Good
evening.
evening. How are you? Can you hear me okay?
Wonderful. It's a marvelous Monday. It's a marvelous Monday. How are you on this evening?
I'm doing well. As you said, it's a marvelous Monday, so it's been pretty good. It's a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
warmer this
yeah.
week. It's not as cold as it was last week, so that's one good
Ooh.
thing.
Yes, you can even get out there and do a little bit of walking, get some little mental health walking, some
That's
stress relief
right.
walking going on. As a matter of fact, that's my plan when I get off of here. I know it's late, but I said I'm going to go out there and do at least 15, 20 minutes. At least 15, 20.
Well, make sure don't walk in no dark areas. Hey,
Right, right,
it's
right.
nighttime, so safety
Look,
first.
I've already had my experience with that. This book here, Night Vision, this book here, shameless plug, but Night Vision is called How to See Your Way Through Any Situation. And I don't know if you can see these trees, but I got lost in Arabia Mountain back in
Oh wow.
2016, 17. I don't even know. But anyway, make a long story short, I couldn't find my way out, and the police couldn't find me.
Oh man.
So
Well,
I'm
yeah.
very strategic with this walking now.
Please,
I'm
yeah,
like, I
please,
don't play around with it. I'm very strategic.
please.
And I done rolled down Stone Mountain, tripped and rolled 2 or 3 times. So,
You look not good with that. Yeah, so
right.
yeah, you stand clear.
So anyway, we are gonna go ahead on, and so Lamar, tell us about yourself.
So thank you again, Dr. McKenzie, for this great opportunity to be here tonight on this Mind Your Mind Mondays. And you said a little bit about me already, but again, Dennis Lamar Handy. I'm a native of Athens, Georgia. I reside currently in Lithonia, Georgia. Work full-time in higher education at Emory University in finance. You may also find me at one of my true passions, which is the funeral home at Jackson McCorder Funeral Home in Athens, Georgia. And you also may find me doing a lot of work within the community with my other deep love, which is the foundation, the D. Lamar Handy Foundation.
So tell us a little bit about your foundation.
The foundation was started back in 2022, I'm sorry, with the pillars of community empowerment, scholarships, and philanthropy. And so when we first started this initiative, it was kind of with the philanthropy piece of having the yearly charity event, which I had the first one in 2019. At the time, I was not an actual organization, but it's something I want to do. I love having a great time, and I want to bring people together to party with a purpose. And so we sought out different organizations with health initiatives to donate money back to. And so 2019, we did Sparrow's Nest of Athens, Georgia, and also Rainbow Village in Duluth for domestic violence. 2022, we were able to give money back for childhood cancer research, the Rally Foundation. In 2023, we were able to give funding back to Friends of Advantage for mental health awareness. 2024, we kept some of the funding and the actual organization, being that we want to be able to kind of provide some services for those who are in need. And so we really started this mental health initiative in 2023.
Okay, so you started the mental health aspect of it in 2023.
Correct.
Wow. I'm going to let you tell us a little more about your story. But before that, I do want to welcome some of our listening audience. Yvette Shields, welcome. Robert Finch, welcome. Heather Quinn, welcome. Charles Wells, welcome. Meek Williams, welcome. Phyllis Booker, welcome. Rashida Kyler, who connected us and does our graphics, welcome. Tamara Bascom, welcome. L. Thomas, welcome. Thank you all for taking the time to join in on this conversation. And like I said, as we go forward, if you have a question, you can put it in the chat and we will try to address it if we can. So, D. Lamar Handy. So we know that mental health and wellness is one of your passions. And can you kind of even talk a little more about how you even got into this field?
Yeah. So what kind of, I guess, sparked this? So the end of 2022, when I was kind of sitting down looking at, what would be our next philanthropy focus for 2023, I started thinking, and it kind of came upon me knowing that myself in 2019 had my first anxiety attack. Prior
Mm,
to that, I had never had heard of anxiety, heard of things such as panic attacks, different types of mental illnesses, but never had experienced it. And so my situation was I was driving home one day from work. At the time I was working full time in Gwinnett County, and I was teaching part time at Athens Technical College, and still doing the funeral home as well at the time. And I was driving home, and I was on the phone with one of my good female friends, and I started feeling just very uneasy. Heavy breathing, legs shaking, sweating, just not knowing what was going on. Thank God, I haven't experienced, having some type of heart attack, but I kind of felt like something was about to happen. And so
mm,
she encouraged me to drive myself to the urgent care. And I went there. They ran all kind of tests. Couldn't find anything. So then they
mm,
referred me to go over to Gwinnett Medical Center. And so from there, ran tests. And the nurse came in and she started asking me, questions of what was going on. And that's when I was diagnosed and found out that I was having a panic attack. From
mm,
there, it was very kind of like, what, how did I develop this? What's going on? It was very uncomfortable, unease. I didn't really discuss it a lot. I was put on medication for this, and I never forget after that first week, I was going to my cousin's birthday party at Friday night, and I was contemplating on going because I was feeling very, very not myself,
mm-hmm,
unease. I even remember going to the party and people asking like, "You okay?" Like, you're not gonna drink anything, have a little fun. I said, no, I'm fine, because I was feeling so unease. And so it was very not a very comfortable situation where, even when I first was diagnosed, true story, I would have to sleep at nighttime with a nightlight on. And I
mm.
had episodes where I would jump out of my sleep as if like something was trying to get me. And I tried different medications, didn't want to take some medications. Some the doses was too high and make me feel very groggy and sleepy. And I just didn't want that feeling. So after years of going through it, I was able to finally, you know, kind of get something that kind of helps me, makes me feel okay, and where I'm able to function. That was one of my big whys of when I knew I was like, I'm not the only person going through this, and I know there's other men going through this and
Mhm,
women, and so I want to be an advocate and a voice for the other people that feel like they don't have their voice or they're too afraid to speak out. And so then at the end of 2022, my family, we experienced a tragic loss in my family of a relative who took their life. And
mm,
that was very like a wake up call. Like, a person can look like they're okay. They can be smiling and have so much going on behind closed doors, and they feel that they're not comfortable enough to speak about it. And so that was my big push of me getting into community, putting on panel discussions, and letting people know that it's truly okay to not be okay.
mhm. That's good. That's good. I know as we kind of, talked behind the scenes and, we were talking about the importance of men's mental health. People just talk about mental health in general, mental illnesses and mental disorders, but we don't talk a lot about men. June comes and June goes. May comes and the world stops.
Right,
And
right.
so I want to talk a little bit about men's mental health. But before we do, we want to welcome Dr. Aquanita, 1209 Queen B, Erica, Latanya, Ann Mooney, Cal Bar. Cal Bar says, thank you for your testimony, Lamar. Tierra Parson and Deborah 2002. Tierra Parson says, proud of you. Proud of you. So we know that you're out there doing a great work for our community. So let's talk about men's health. What is it that keep men, one, let's start with going to the doctors. Men don't like to go to the doctors. Let's talk about that.
So, it's a fear mechanism, I think, with the doctor. And even myself, I'm not a big fan of the doctor, but I go to the doctor because it's very important to keep your physical health together as well. And when you're not feeling okay, to take the time out of your schedule. Even though myself, I'm busy, but I'm learning to take time out and then take care of that physical health. And so for men, it's a fear thing. You're afraid of what the doctor may say, or if it's gonna be something bad. You always think in your mind, I'm afraid I can't do this. And so I think that's one thing that kind of makes it hard for a man to go to a doctor for his physical health. Then when it comes to the mental health, that's something that for years it wasn't really discussed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Even in the community and in the African American community, especially, growing up, we all said we had that one family member, you may have two, who may stay in the back room, never would come out to events, and you already knew not to have a conversation. It's kind of like, don't ask, don't tell. So don't speak about it. And so with that, that kind of matriculated through generations after generations. And so what it did, it pretty much it silenced us. And so for men in the African American community, for one, in certain environments, we're told don't cry, show your emotions. You're supposed to be the strong one. You're the head of the household of the family. You're the strong one. You're supposed to be the shield, the one to look out to everybody else. And so when you have all these different titles and different things that you've been challenged with in life, it makes you feel like, well, I can't really share how I feel or what's really going on. And so you start feeling like, it makes you look weak when you're saying that, okay, or we like to use the word all the time, crazy. And even myself, I had learned not to use that word a lot, because there are so many men, and I keep hounding on Black men, that are truly hurting and going through and don't really know how to have that conversation. I was talking with somebody last week on a podcast, and we were asking, talking about what are some of the things that, makes a man mental capacity sometimes not okay. First thing I would say is finances. No man, no woman either, but a man especially does not want to be broke. A man feels like he's supposed to have money. He don't want to go out with the homeboys and the homeboys balling out, and you looking around like, man, I ain't got money for real, so I'm just gonna spend my bill money, and I'll worry about everything else later. Who wants to have that feeling? And so that's one thing that makes us feel less of a man's like finance. And financially, when you're not okay, that can definitely mess up your mental. And then I just think the masculinity of men, we're looked at in the Black community, a man supposed to look this way, supposed to be that way. And that's not always true. It's a lot of times, people have to learn, to be yourself, be who you are. Growing up myself, I wasn't, the boy from the hood. I had friends from the hood, some of my family were from the hood, but that wasn't me. So I even had to learn growing up to just be comfortable and be who you are. You may not be like the dude beside you or to your left or to your right, front or behind you, but be who you are. And so I think a lot of times when it comes to men and mental health, there's self-esteem component too, as well, as one thing that kind of gets us. And so we have to become more accessible and more willing to have conversations, to check on each other. When you see your brother hurting and he's not okay, make him feel comfortable. Just ask like, man, you okay? Or say I love you. A lot of times, a lot of young people in this generation, I think, sometimes turn to the games and the streets and things of that nature, because they're missing that key component of love. For myself, I was lucky and fortunate enough to have a father that was very present in my life. A lot of people don't have that at all, and so they don't really know how to love, or how, if you're not feeling okay, like, man, it's okay for you to cry, and let your emotions out. Don't let it bottle all up inside. And so all these things that society puts on us as Black men, that affects our mental day after day. And so what happens is when you have generational trauma that comes past, it continues to build up year after year. And when it goes unresolved for so long, a few things gonna happen. You're gonna either explode, you go turn sometimes to alcohol, you go turn to drugs or something, because that's your mask of how you can mask what you're feeling and the hurt that you have deep inside.
That's something that you talked about, like just bringing on, you carry it. It was Sunday. What's today? Monday? I think it was Saturday night. I had a long day, and later that evening, I went to do something. Oh, anyway, I went out, and then on my way back, I was just like, I'm hungry, but I had already cooked, but I had what I cooked earlier. So I was just like, I'm hungry. So I stopped at a restaurant over here near me, and I was sitting waiting for my food. And this young man came in just snapping and cussing, just snapping and cussing. Man, you drunk. You know, this other man comes in, a young boy, and both of them were kind of young. One, the taller one, was kind of older, but he was just like, man, I don't know what's wrong with you. You drunk. Who you talking to? You know, they cussing and going back and forth and this and that. So the first thing, I'm like, the blood of Jesus. Because I'm like, I don't need y'all popping off. The next thing I know, dude was like, I'll heat you or smoke you or something. I'm from Glenwood. I was like, oh man. I was just like, hey, is my food ready yet? Because I'm like,
time to go.
Let me get my rice and wings before.
Right.
But then it just really got serious. Then this girl came in, and you know what? In that moment, I felt like my purpose was there to just pray for them right then and there, to bring peace to the situation, to pray for their minds. And he was like, I don't know what you want. You want some dumb stuff. And you know, I was just thinking, it made me think about tonight's show. I was just like, wow. I wish they were calm enough that I could talk and be like, hey, won't y'all join me for a conversation? Or, you know, like to try to kind of unpack that anger. Mm-hmm. The younger one, he was a little more calmer than the older one, but the older one, he just immediately snapped, boom. Then he took it out, and I was just like, oh, have I been up this close to a gun before? I was like, oh yeah, I did go to the gun range. Right. But just like I know with even the young men in my school, they deal with a lot of anger. They come with a lot of trauma, and they'll take it out on everybody. They'll go from 0 to 100 in less than 2.5 seconds. Mm-hmm. Can we kind of talk about that? And then I want to get to Tamara's question. She was asking about what triggers anxiety and attacks, and I kind of want to talk about that, and I kind of want you to talk about it as well. But let's kind of unpack that anger. Why are our boys and men so angry?
And so I want to, first I want to kind of tell a true testimony for myself to kind of lead us into that, to that question. So me as a little boy, I was 6 or 7 years old. My parents got divorced, and after they got divorced, what's so strange to me, you know, I have one sibling, my sister. She's 2 years older than me. She doesn't remember a lot of things, but me, my memory, I remember a lot of things. Even now, I can't remember just certain situations that took place while they went through this trying time. And so, for me, after their divorce, I acted out in school. Now, of course, my family said I was a bad little boy. Some may believe it or not, but they say I was a little, I was a little bad little boy, whatever. But after that divorce, I started to act out in school in certain ways, doing things that I would have normally done. And so with that, what I learned, and as years and years went by, I had a great childhood, both parents present, had a stepmother that was exceptionally great to me as well. But that hurt of why my parents had to get divorced while I was so young, could something have change, what could have happened to make things different. And what's so weird about it is, even until adulthood, I carry that hurt, that trust mechanism into my adulthood, to where in some parts of my life it's hard for me to trust people because I don't want that person to walk away or something to happen. And so to kind of lead into that, a lot of young boys are really going through a lot of hurt. They're seeing a lot of things. But even with me and my, sister and cousins, there were some things adults did not let us know, did not say around us, not do. Nowadays, this generation, they're seeing more and more things in the household that myself, even you, my parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles would have never saw. And so that stuff that they're seeing is bringing on hurt. They're taking the hurt, the love that they're missing at home, to act out in school to get that attention in some kind of way. And so with that, what even makes it worse is, truth be told, a lot of parents need to seek help and see a therapist. They have unresolved hurt that they're carrying over. And so what happens is, when a parent is unhealed, it goes into the children. And the children don't really have an outlet. don't or really can't talk to the parent because the parent is also hurt, holding something else all. So they go to the school to ask out for the attention or go into the street to try to get it. And so that's one thing that we're seeing. And so people ask the question, well, how can it change? The community is different than what it is. It used to be a village to raise,
Right.
children, but now it's not like that in some capacity. And so, you don't have the churches like you used to have come together. You don't have programs. So it's like this built up anger. They don't really know how to let it out. And so it's like, what do you do? And so that's one thing that I'm hoping and willing be able to do is go into schools to be able to help young kids, boys and girls, bring in counselors to have these discussions, so that they can hear certain things to be able to kind of, dissect and say, am I going through this? And even to bring it to the parents' attention to say, if you see signs of your young sons or, grandsons or daughters that they're acting out and it's unusual, don't ignore it. Like give them a safe space to have that conversation, because a lot of times just one conversation may help change the whole trajectory of the whole situation. I had a grandparent reach out to me last year. She had a grandson, 11, 13 years old, that was really going through it hard, acting out, and she saw it early enough that, hey, he's going down a road of destruction. And so she reached out to the foundation. And so we were able and blessed enough to get him connected with a Black male therapist. He sat down, had 5 sessions, and she said she saw a total change in his attitude. And so now, we want to be able to continue to support him, if it's not every month, but quarterly, to let him sit down and talk with somebody. Because a lot of times, a lot of young boys just really want to talk to somebody. They have things boggled up inside. They don't know how to say it, who to say it to. And so they need that outlet. And I think that's a big thing. And of course, social media doesn't make it easier because everybody want to be a next rap artist, want to be the person I see on social media. And it's like, you're just seeing a person behind a phone. You're not really saying what that person's going through before they take their picture or put their video out there. And so that's really affecting our young people in a major, major way.
Yeah. While you were talking, I was just thinking about some of my students and just their influence and social media, the impact that social media has on them. They can't tell me the square root of 49, but they can kiss my. And I'm like, the way you learned that, I need you to learn this math. How about we put this math into a song? But I teach social emotional learning. We have to teach that 30 minutes. And when we come into different conversations about like, what are you confident about in yourself? Where do you see yourself in the future? It's either sports or rapping. Right. It's nothing else. There is no in between. Maybe a graphic designer, or they'll say entrepreneur. And I was like, I'll ask, what is that? No, you your own boss, so nobody tell you what to do. Well, what kind of business will you have? It don't matter. It's just gonna be me. They haven't thought it out, planned it out. And so that's a good segue. And for me to, branch out into that more. But I wanted to talk about I'm a certified anger management specialist. And when we run these groups, one of the things that we teach is that anger is choice-based. It's choice-based. Like when something happens to you or someone does something and you feel violated and you feel the need to go from here to there, you actually have time to not go there. Right. You actually have time to put some other things in place, to breathe, to step back, to count down. Like there's so many different strategies that you can put in place to just keep from just going there. And what's funny is I didn't even know that I dealt with anger until I took this class. I took the class and then I found out I'm angry.
Right.
I have to help myself. But I want to get to this question from, I don't know if it's Tamara or Tamara, but Tamara Bascom. She says, when you were talking about being diagnosed with anxiety, one of her questions was, did the doctor say what triggered anxiety attacks? And I'll let you answer that question, and then I'll come back and give some reasons that trigger anxiety or where anxiety stems from.
A lot of times they say when you become overwhelmed, overthinking. I am an overthinker. I have to tell myself sometimes not overthink. A lot of times my brain starts to run when I lay in the bed at nighttime. And I start thinking about all kind of stuff. And so I have to learn how to control that. So they told me at the time, mine was coming with, I had too much going on. I was in school getting my master's, working full time, teaching part time, and the funeral home. So I was just like in school by itself. Was getting an MBA was no joke. So that was a lot, and so that's really what triggered it. And it could have been, past thing that could have been the offset of what really, brought it out. And so even though now to this day, I have times where I become overwhelmed, my anxiety becomes overwhelmed. I am comfortable enough now to say that I take a anxiety pill every single day. And some people look like, I never forget when I first told my grandmother I had anxiety. She said, well, you got anxiety. I said, Grandma, I really do, because it's like, she's looking at me like, well, you out with the people all the time, you smile, you're a people person. But sometimes I actually get nervous in front of people. And some people look like I can never tell. Yeah, because I talk to myself, because I said, Lamar, get yourself together. It's okay. And so what's so weird about it, these things sometimes are generational. You kind of have to look at where it comes from. Honestly, mental illness just don't pop up to you today. Sometimes, but it comes from somewhere back in the day when we were hiding that person and saying they just a little different. That could have been mental illness. We under the rule. It's like, don't talk, don't say anything about it. But we have to learn, even men now, how to have those conversations. When you see something not right as a family, call it out. Like, what? We see these signs. It's something really going on, because you want to try to break that generation thing at some point, or even if someone has it, let them know it's okay for them to get help and talk about it. That's one important thing. And so even with me with anxiety, when I, feel myself going through this, I never forget what 2 weeks ago, matter of fact, ran out of my medication. And I was just too busy to go get the medication refill for 2 or 3 days. But I felt myself coming like, I am freaking out. Like, I start feeling a bit jittery, nervous, like, I need my medication. And what was so weird, I guess, I don't want to say I was dependent on it, but my body just knew. So when I went and got the pill and took it, I felt a total difference. I'm like, this is kind of weird. But it happens, it's nothing, it's not easy. I mean, even like now, I'm saying myself, I cannot believe I'm telling these people this stuff for real. But we need more transparency, especially for men. To say that, bro, if you don't feel okay, and if you going through some stuff, man, let it out and talk about it. And I was going to let you get to your thing about anxiety as well. Last week, I was on this podcast, and this young lady was talking about how she said she hates sometimes seeing, and she's like, and she admits, she's like, I'm wrong, but I'm gonna say it. She's like, I hate when I see dudes go to Instagram or go to Facebook and make a blank little thing and then start writing something, and just start saying stuff. And I said, that's a crowd for help sometimes. I see dudes all the time make posts about certain things. They're crying out for help, saying, I need the help. Somebody help me. But they don't feel confident enough to say it directly or have the conversation. And so when I was saying before, I've even went to dudes inboxes and said, hey, bro, just want to let you know, whatever you're going through, it's okay. You're not alone. Come out to this event. And of course, it's not easy. I tell people the first step you make is going to that event or to that session. That's the first step. And it's hard. It's hard to get yourself there. But when you get there, that's your first step. And so it's not going to happen overnight, within a day, 2 days, 3 days, a week. Right. It takes time. But those are the type of things and the conversations that we have to start having to let our Black men know that, hey, if you not feeling okay, man, it's okay. Talk to somebody. I just went last month to this group here in Atlanta. They have first and third Tuesdays with a group of nothing but men talking about situations and about just life and about going through things. And when I went, I was kind of like, man, this is good, man. Like, we need this more places, like, to let men have that comfortable space, because sometimes you don't want to talk to your wife or to your girlfriend, to your mama, to your sister. Sometimes you don't want to talk to your homeboy because you feel embarrassed. So you need other environments where you see other people and some people who you don't know, that you can kind of just be free and be like, yo, man, I had a hard week. I feel like I'm on the edge right now. Suicide for men even for the word, the second leading cause of death, suicide. Men, women, but men especially, when they feel like they can't talk to anybody and go anywhere, they feel like my only way out is to take my life. And that's not it. So
Yeah.
that's kind of a little spill off of that whole anxiety thing to what people really go through. And so, Shay, yes, Tamara, as I say, but that's the answer to the question where this my anxiety came from. But many things cause anxiety. Even sometimes you can develop anxiety after a major loss. You may go through grief, unresolved
Yeah.
grief. That may cause anxiety too as well. Or just losing something that you love can cause you anxiety.
Yeah, the meeting that you were talking about for men, is it open to the public or just a certain
It's
sector?
up to the public. It is. First and
Do you
third
have
to men.
information on that?
I do. And I feel so bad because the name gosh, I forget the name of this,
Well,
but
you can get
yes,
it to me and we can get it out to,
yes,
make sure
yes.
that our men, know that they have a place to go. One thing about anxiety, you can have psychological triggers, you can have situational triggers, you can have environmental triggers. There are just so many different types of triggers. When your triggers are like psychological, then you're dealing with like fear of judgment or something, or high expectations, perfectionism. You got to do things perfect. You can't make any mistakes. And as you were talking about earlier, overthinking, I know I stay in my head. I know, matter of fact, on my book bags over there, I'm reading a book now that talks about, getting out of your head. And then the other thing that you mentioned was like past trauma or unresolved emotional issues. Dr. Jackson, who was my guest last week, he did a book club on this book entitled Emotional Inheritance by Dr. Gaitlin Atlas. Her name is always a tongue twister for me. But that book just basically talked about how we carry the secrets of our ancestors. We carry the trauma of that, the secrets that they never told that they carry. And then we find ourselves acting out and we don't know why. We will be doing a book club starting, I want to say March the 16th on Sundays at 6 p.m. And so we're going to get that information out to anybody you're interested in knowing about trauma and emotional inheritance and why you act or think the way you do. You may learn about it in this particular book. The chapters are built around her clients. So she has sessions with these people. And when she has sessions with them, by the time it's all said and done, the resolve is they're carrying somebody else's stuff. It's not even their stuff, but what they're experiencing in their personal life triggers it or brings it up or exposes it. Another thing that opens the way or triggers anxiety is, like I said, environmental triggers. For example, like you dealing with someone who is autistic, loud noises or chaotic surroundings. I don't, as loud as I am, I do not like a lot of noise. I do not like the 4th of July. I do not like to go to the gun range. I've only gone one time and I'll never go again. I do, there's certain things that triggers for people, bright lights or crowded spaces, conflicts or confrontations, and just basically being unfamiliar or being in unpredictable situations. And then you have like psychological, well, you have physical and biological triggers. For some people, caffeine, sugar, or poor diet can bring on anxiety. Lack of sleep can bring on anxiety, hormonal changes, chronic illness. It's so many things that can bring on anxiety, cognitive triggers. We can have cognitive triggers, negative self-talk or self-doubt. And I'm good for that one. That's one of the ones that I have spent the last year really getting on top of, is that negative self-talk or that self-doubt. And then how you ruminate on the worst. I talked about this last week, where one little scenario happens and then you catastrophize it. And then you fail one test in school. Now you done flunked the class and you done got kicked out of the program just off of this one. We just go down the spiraling. We just spiral down. And then sometimes just feeling out of control with your life, or just unrealistic expectations of yourself. Those are things that bring on or trigger anxiety.
And and the piggyback up one thing you said too as well, expectation. And I hold myself to high expectations. A lot of times I do get anxiety when things don't go the way I foresee them going.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you talk about loud noises, for me, I tell my friends on group texts, I have to keep group texts on do not disturb because the buzz buzz on my phone, it drives me nuts. I can't stand it. When the phone keeps going, I'm like, so I keep my phone on silence for those group messages because I can't go through this all day long. But for me, at a session last year, matter of fact, so failure is another thing that for people in general, but for men don't like to fail. And I'm a prime example of that when it comes to anxiety. I have something that I've been struggling with for years that I'm trying to get through now. Is part of a success thing. And I keep, failing, but it keeps giving me anxiety every single time I think about it. I get this nervous and anxiety of it. And so I'm learning how to deal with that and kind of control myself. And one thing I mentioned last year at the event, I had an event, am I a strong black woman, a strong black man? And we started talking about grief. And so we mentioned about grief and about you grieve over something you lost, a family member, but grief can also be a loss of a job, a car, a house, or something you love. And so I mentioned that I've been grieving for the last 9, 10 years over something that I have not accomplished yet. And what I had to tell myself, and even the people, the therapists there that were in the room told me, is that you have to. So, matter of fact, this guy came up to me. He said, "Man," he said, you talked about, you've been grieving over this one thing you haven't accomplished yet." He said, "Think about it, man." He said, "It's all in God's timing." He said, "You grieving over it." He said, "But if you would have had that already, you may not be right here today, being able to help people who are really going through things mentally. So God is trying to set you up so that when you do accomplish that, He's going to let everything fall in place." And I never looked at it that way ever until he said that to me. And I said, wow. I said, man, you just gave me a new revelation, like for real. So now I'm dealing with that grief better to know, like, it's going to come. Keep doing the work, keep doing what you do. It's going to come right on time. And so that's another thing that in life can really get a person down and give you anxiety and depression is failure with things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's good that you talked about failure. And I don't like to use labels or put labels on myself or on others, but I dealt with ADHD from the womb. But I didn't know. It wasn't a term back then, Right. And when I got to college, all my report cards said, Kimberly is a bright student, but she's inattentive. I mean, that was my thing all the way out. She's smart. She's this. She's inattentive. She's easily distracted, And so when I got to college, I went to Messiah College in Grantham, Pennsylvania. It was a Brethren in Christ school. That was their foundation or whatever. But the point was, I flunked out. My first semester of my sophomore year, I had 3 F's and a C plus. 3 F's and a C plus. I'll never forget this because my mom had bought me a car. I wanted a tape deck and a leather jacket. That's all I wanted was a tape deck and a leather jacket. And she got the leather jacket and she was going to have somebody put the tape deck in while I was home for Christmas. And that report card came through. Now I'm in college, right? I'm in college. Mom's was like, "Oh, no. She took that leather coat back and she never gave it to me." And then it took me years to get a tape deck. And I had to pay for my own tape deck. But I'm saying all this to say, Tuesdays and Thursdays were 90-minute classes. Mm-hmm. Monday, Wednesday, Fridays were 55-minute classes or 50-minute classes. I fell asleep in my Tuesday, Thursday classes every single week. And those are the classes that I had the 3 F's in, and I had a C. It was a C plus. I had a C plus. My GPA was 0.58.
Wow.
And I'm sharing this because I want to encourage somebody out there that you failed and you feel like there's no way that you can pick up the pieces. You fail and you feel like this is the end of you and this is all that you can do. Let me tell you something. I ended up had to go to a community college for a year, ended up getting an associate's in communication because at this point I had to file for you know, like you write the letter to come back in. I can't even think about it. So I ended up being on academic probation. I lost all my scholarships, everything. So now we got to figure out how to pay for this expensive private school. And you can't fail. You just cannot fail. But I came back and some other things took place. And anyway, make a long story short, I went from the failing list to the dean's list by the time my senior year, and I graduated. And the beauty in that is, if I had not failed, the friends that I have right now, I would have never met them. And when I say those are my ride or die, we are a tight-knit community. Like, you know, I would have never met them. So that was one thing that came out of it. But now this is where I want to encourage you. I am 3 masters and a PhD later.
Ooh, right.
Praise God. Yes. But had I stopped at I'm a failure, had I stopped that this is too hard, I can't do it. And what's crazy is I went to school back in the 80s. It wasn't until relocating here to Georgia in 2006, maybe 2007, I realized something is wrong with me. And I finally went to the doctors first. He suggested I go see the psychiatrist, and I went to see the psychiatrist. The first thing, he asked a whole list of questions. He was like, ma'am, ADD. I said, that's what's wrong with me. I knew something was, you know.
Right.
And so he was like, I'm going to write you a prescription. You're going to have to be on this prescription for the rest of your life. He said, the older you get, the worse it's going to get.
Oh, wow.
Well, I never took the prescription because I never wanted to be on something for the rest of my life. Like, that just scared me. Like, what, like you were saying, what if I don't take it? What if they run out? Or what, you know, like then I can't think, I can't. And so I never took it. But what I did do was studied up on it. Because I'm in special education, I understand students that have been, well, you know, that it used to be ADHD, attention deficit disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. I understand them. So now I have to be intentional about my life. I have to be intentional about my time. My phone goes off all throughout the day on the days that I'm home to remind me it's time to do this now. I fill out a whole, my book bag is over there. I do a whole schedule on the weekends, not during the weekday. I'll schedule out my evenings, but I'm talking about the like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that kind of stuff. And so now I just have to be intentional with myself. I have to make myself do it when I don't want to do it. When I see myself getting distracted, I'm that type of person that'll walk in the room, forget what I walked in the room for, see something, start doing something over there and be like, oh, this don't belong here. Let me go put this in this room. Go over in that room, then be like, oh, I was going in there to get the scissors. You know, like that's me. When I clean my house, I can never get a room clean because I'll start in this room. Oh, this needs to go downstairs in the kitchen. I'll scoop up everything that needs to go in the kitchen or wherever. Go down there, start doing dishes, start cleaning down there, start mopping the floor. Then be like, you know what? I need to do laundry. Then come back upstairs. Now I'm doing, you know, that's how I think. But anyway, I got off course. And we need to start to wrap this up. But I just want to encourage someone out there that where you are now, and my old pastor used to always say, your current situation is not your final conclusion. It's not your concrete situation. So this is not the end of you. It's not over. It is okay that if you need help, get help.
That's right.
If you need someone to talk to, find someone to talk to. There are many services out there, especially if you're on a job. You have your EAP services that will get you started off with free therapy. And I'm not trying to push everybody into therapy because therapy is not for everybody. However, you need to take care of yourself. And the whole auspices of Mind Your Mind Mondays is talking about mental health and wellness. You know, we're not just dealing with the mind. We're dealing with the mind. We're dealing with the body. We're dealing with the spirit. We're dealing with the whole person, the whole holistic view of the person. So, DL, we're about to wrap this up. Are there any final, is there anything that you would like to say to the listening audience, especially our men, that can encourage them or give them some strategies or anything of that nature?
Yes, 3 things that come to my mind. One thing for men, and for these are African American men, it's truly not okay to not be okay. It's very true. But if for parents, if you have a young son that may be 18 to 22 years old, pay close attention to things with them that may be a little off and may change up. And I say this because studies are starting to show that for 1 in 6 youth in the U.S. experience mental illness. 1 in 5 adults experience mental illness. It's starting out now young as 12 years old. But when young guys get to the ages between about 18 to 21, 22, it's been very common that schizophrenia has become a huge thing, more in Black males. And I share this with people that I have actually 3 cousins who deal with schizophrenia. One who had an episode and committed a crime that now has him behind bars. And so it's a real serious thing. And so I just encourage people, encourage families, encourage men, get the help that you need. Again, as you mentioned, therapy isn't for everybody, but if it's for you and you feel like you want to talk to somebody, sign up for a therapist. Even through the foundation, we have preferred therapists that we want to be able to refer people to for you. I have a therapist. I see my therapist every month, and I look forward to seeing my therapist. I mean, sometimes I'm about to crash out. I'm like, man, I cannot wait to see this man, talk to him. And he get on a call. He's like, Lamar, what's going on? How you doing, man? And I start just letting everything out. Like, bro, this was going on right here. But I feel so much better afterward because life can be a lot. Right now, life is a lot for all of us. So it's like, get the help, take time for yourself. I encourage men to do too as well. What I'm practicing for myself is doing is it's okay to take time for yourself. Take time for yourself. Find you a day to do something that you love to do, that only you want to do. I even sometimes go travel with myself. We need that time alone. I need time alone. As a man, if you're not okay, it's okay to talk to somebody, talk to a friend. I tell women, if you have a man in your life, whether it's your boyfriend, husband, son, brother, whoever, and you see that he's not okay, ask him if he's okay. Or just offer to do something for him, like, hey, you want to go out real fast, go grab something to eat real fast, and say, you know what, it's on me today. Take that pressure off him to let him know, like, I can chill. I ain't got to worry about paying today. I'll take care of everything. Let a man have a day where he can just feel free, because we're really faced with a lot of things in the world these days. And, we really want to make it a more comfortable world to let men let their guard down and be able to have those conversations when they're really not feeling okay. You went on mute. You're on mute, I think.
Yeah, I just told myself you're going to forget. But I want you to put your website down while I want to share one of the comments we have from Be Free. She said, many men find it difficult to talk about or seek help for anxiety and other mental health issues. This often stems from society expectations that men should be strong and self-reliant. As a result, some may suppress their emotions or avoid reaching out, which can worsen their mental health. Encouraging open conversations, challenging stigma, and providing supportive environment can make a big difference. Promoting the idea that seeking help is a sign of strength, not weakness, can help more. Hey, I agree with you, Be Free. Thank you so much for chiming in. And as we get ready to wrap this up, I'm going to allow DL to come back and just share how to contact him. But before we do that, I just want to share just warning signs. If you have friends, and because this is, this episode was dealing with men's mental health and wellness, but this is for anybody. There are verbal warning signs. If you hear someone or them or him, whatever, talking about wanting to die or not wanting to be here anymore, that's a flag. That's a flag. When people express hopelessness and it just seems to be like they think things will never get better, you may want to just, put a pause there. Saying they feel like they're a burden to others. These are some verbal signs that can be precursors to someone who has suicidal ideations or is thinking about it. If they're mentioning suicide directly or indirectly, like, for example, I just wish I could disappear. You got to watch that. You have to watch that. And then if they're talking about feeling trapped or having no reason to live. Those are things you watch. Those are verbal signs. And then you also have like behavioral warning signs. When you see somebody who they had something that they would never let go, and they start to give away like important things that belong to them, or people like for me, I'm an extrovert. You see me withdrawing from my friends and my families and activities that I love to do, come get me. Come get me. If you see increased use of alcohol or drug use, engaging in risky behavior, it doesn't even have to be like sex related. It can be something like um driving really really fast. Oh, now I'm not even gonna get into that story, but driving really really fast or recklessly unsafe sex, and just talk about self-harm, or just someone who like they may have a dramatic, I'm talking like a dramatic mood swing. They're very very happy, then all of a sudden they are deeply 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 depressed. These are some behavioral signs that you can look for in the men that's connected you. But again, this is not just for them, but this segment is focused on them. When you notice somebody sleeping too much, they sleeping more than what they normally do. You notice a change in eating habits. It's this different suicidal signs that are out there that we don't want to ignore. When they have loss of appearance in their like hygiene and so forth, that's a sign of depression. Not wanting to comb their hair, brush their teeth, not getting dressed, just kind of laying around, becoming a couch potato. And then if you notice, or if you ever run across something on their phone or on a laptop or something, or their social media, whatever, they've been searching for some type of ways to die. Those are signs and indicators that that person may perhaps, I'm not saying that these things are happening, they automatically need help, but if these things are happening, they may need help. And then, with emotional warnings, you have deep sadness, anxiety, extreme agitation, feeling worthless, ashamed, or guilty. And then sudden relief or calmness after a period of distress. So those are things that you want to look for, situational triggers. Losing their job. Where we are right now, we need to pray. We need to pray. So many people have lost their jobs, and definitely, DL, you talked about grief. It goes beyond death. In terms of a physical death, grief can be the loss of a job when you get divorced. So there's so many things that can cause grief, that it's not just limited to life and death. Chronic illness, history of trauma, abuse, bullying or harassment. Those are situational triggers that can cause suicidal tendencies. Okay. And if you notice any of those signs, kind of watch it, take it seriously. You might want to ask directly, listen without judgment, and then check in regularly with them, and then encourage them to get professional help. Encourage them to get professional help. So, DL, let the people know, how they can contact you. I know you have an event coming up this weekend. I will be there. I know you have some stuff going on in Charlotte and in Athens. So let them know what they're doing, how they can contact you, or, become a part or something like that.
Yes. And so one quick thing as well, tell about depression. It's very, very real. We may start seeing depression even more now with what's going on in the world, with the economy, like you mentioned, losing jobs. See those signs, even for yourself sometimes. If you start noticing yourself sleeping a lot, it's something going on. I have been there before, so I knew I was going to a depression. So I had to kind of get myself out of it. So pay attention to your body until you start feeling a little mentally off. Talk to somebody, get some help somewhere. And so again, the D.L. Haney Foundation, we're here to help. One thing that Be Free said, my Bessie, is that with that's one thing the foundation, we found that our panel discussions we have throughout Atlanta and Athens, and we're going to Charlotte March 7th. I'm so excited about that. Is that a lot of times people want to come in the room with other people to know they're not going through this alone. And so what we find out after a lot of our panel discussions, at the end, people end up connecting with a therapist, or they'll come up to me and say pretty much, like, hey, that was very great for me. I enjoyed that. How can I get in contact with them? When would there be another session? And so we want to be able to be that outlet for people to let them know that, if you're not okay and if, something's going on, you can talk to somebody. I tell people, check on your strong friends. Those friends is always smiling, like everything together. Check on them. They all have weak moments sometimes. So check me too as well. Check on those friends because we get weak sometimes indeed. And so please do that. And so again, as Dr. McKenzie said, this coming Friday, February the 28th, we're having an event, Reconnect the Community through conversations and karaoke. We have an amazing panel put together and also host. It's going to take place at 565 Hank Aaron Street, Southwest Atlanta. It's going to be at their clubhouse. It starts at 6 p.m. It's going to end at 9. So you all come out if you're free. It's a free event. Then we're going to also, we've added something. We did a grief session last month over at Oconee State Bank in Watkinsville, Georgia. We're going to do that again on March the 5th because so many people are really grieving, going through things. It's a free event. Come out from 6 to 7:30. If you go to my Facebook page, I posted the Eventbrite link, everything there. We're going to also bring one to Atlanta on the following week, and I have the information soon. And then March 21st, we're going to be in Athens, Georgia, doing a similar event to the one we're doing this Friday with conversation and karaoke. And that's going to also be a great event. So we're busy, but we're trying to really put it out here. I'm also making sure I take care of myself and go take a break. And we always encourage people as well. We put on these events. They're free. We are a nonprofit. So if you ever feel the need to want to donate to us, I've dropped the link there, the www.dlhaneyfoundation.org. Please donate to us. I would say if we get 100 people to give us $1, they'll take us a long way. So please support us if you can. Ask yourself, as someone has put in Nitra, hey, bro and sis, how's your mental health? Are you okay? Ask that question sometimes. Sometimes, you may not feel comfortable coming off saying mental health. Just say, hey, you feeling okay today? You okay? And sometimes when a person's not okay, sometimes they will tell you. And we'll go to another conversation another time. But also checking those friends so have the signs of not enough to being okay, but in their mind they think they're okay. That can be very dangerous too as well. And so there you have to always be able to have those conversations and get therapy as well. Therapy is great. It's great. It's definitely life changing indeed.
What was your www.dlhaney?
dlhaneyfoundation.org.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
So, all righty. And DL and I have some more stuff coming up in May. We will be doing something together, having a panel. We'll be doing something together in June, but we'll keep you posted. I'll put his flyers out on my social media so that you guys can stay abreast of that as well. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I do want to say thank you all, Brenton Jordan, Lula Fambro, Anitra Williams Hall, Janice Blackwell, hey Janice, Shakia Bailey, again, Yvette, Apostle Vorlia Cheney, Apostle Kimberly Jones, Lalita Puka Scott, Angela Billups. Thank you all for being part of this conversation. Be free. Linwood Hill. Thank you all. Rashida Kyla, Carl Jefferson, Anitra Williams Hall, and Crystal Connie. Thank you guys for joining us. Audra Taylor and L. Thomas. I think I got you on the front end. And I think it's Ira Wilmore. I think that's, if I'm saying your name wrong, forgive us. Dominique Barnett, Erica Latanya. Thank you all. We hope that something was said that will information that you can take back to use for yourself, or take it back and spread it in your community. Yes. Maybe you can start having conversations and dialogue in your community. Start a podcast, do a YouTube, something that we can get mental health awareness and mental health and wellness awareness out in our communities, because people don't have to go the way they go if they are aware of resources and they have the right supports in place.
Right. So one thing, I'm sorry, McKenzie, I just forgot about something. We talk about resources. Also, 988. Every time I go into a room, I ask that question, and people always look like I never heard that before. 988 is just like 911. 988 is a mental health hotline. You can call 24 hours a day to get assistance and get help. They are working to try to make it better. A family reached out to me last year and told me that they had some bad experiences. So we were able to go talk to Marty Kemp's team who started 988, and we're hopefully able to work with legislator's office to help kind of get some things in place. I had a meeting last week with Congressman Hank Johnson's office in DC. So we're really hoping to help change laws, because laws is one way that you can definitely get the help you need as well. And also NAMI,
Yeah.
NAMI, their national organization. That's also a great place to get assistance we need when you're mentally not okay.
Do nominee again. I'm a part of it. Right?
NAMI.org. Yes. We actually have something. You may be familiar with Appalachian High School incident. Well, those people lost their lives in Winder Barrow. And so we're going to actually be taking a community event there next month as well for their community. And we'll actually have someone from NAMI coming to the event to do a presentation.
Well, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So you see, there are resources out there. There are resources out there for us that we can take advantage for. A 24-hour hotline for resources, right?
That's right.
988.
988. Yes, yes.
Okay.
And it works. It works. Someone I know used it, and it definitely helped them. So yes. So yeah.
Yeah, this time went by so fast. There's so much to discuss.
It is. It is. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank those that tuned in indeed. And Dr. McKenzie, you're gonna come to the charity event this year as well. And we every single year. So yes. So thank you. So looking forward to working with you as well.
All righty. Well, you again, you all have a great evening. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you again soon.
Yes. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.